Hi guys, here we are. We are here with Byndees again, and I've got a special guest days coming these 2 days. So first one up, we've got Cecile from Textile Transitions, and we will be talking to her. So watch us throughout. There's one every hour. I know some of you might be working today, so we might not get many on here today. But if you are there, please comment. You can comment through the YouTube or through the Facebook. We can talk to you and chat to you as we go. So I'm going to bring Cecile in. Here she is. So welcome, Cecile.
Hey, Narelle.
How are you?
I'm great.
That's good. That's good. So we've got a couple of people watching us at the moment, which is great. And I thought Friday, and it's a bit of a put together that I've put together just in a couple of days, just to have some special guests through here. So I just thought, we'll see how we go. And we're just going to have some fun and let everyone know. So, Cecile, do you want to just talk a little bit about your background?
Gosh, my background.
I know, it's been a bit, yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I've been in the patchwork textile industry for about 22 years now. I started sewing. I bought my first sewing machine when I was 14, which happens to be 40 years ago now.
You don't have to give that away.
No, too late. So I've been sewing my own clothes, my own stuff, kids' stuff since then. And I made a whole pile of patchwork stuff for the kids when they were born. I did up the whole nursery type thing, and then I didn't do anything for a number of years. As a dressmaker, I always wondered why you would cut up these perfectly good pieces of fabric and sew them back together again. I still have the little dusty pink suit that I last was making when I started patchwork, complete with the pins in it. About 4 sizes too small now. I will never finish that. So I've been, I did all the major shows for 15, 16 years. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been focused overseas. So I've been teaching in Houston, Festival of Quilts in Birmingham, around various guilds and different places in New Zealand and all around. So my focus for the last few years has very much been overseas. And, of course, COVID changed everything. So I won't say I've gone back to basics. We've changed the way we're doing a few things, but I'm now much happier to be focused at home. So I do regular live sales at home through my Facebook page. I'm not doing any craft shows anymore. I'm done with that. So I want to stay and be with the dogs and my garden and just potter from home from here on in. So I do a lot of online classes. I do, as I said, the online Facebook sales, the live sales, and just some local events when they come up. Is that enough background, Narelle?
Sounds good.
Lost you.
Yep. No, I'm here. Yep. No, I just focused on you. You see. Yeah, it was just you.
I saw that.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are we going to talk about today? What are you going to show everyone today?
Well, one of the things that I've been doing a lot overseas is a lot of surface design, fabric dyeing, fabric painting, surface design, and this is the quilt that started it all. If I can show you this, if I hold that up, can everyone see it? Yeah. So this quilt started as white homespun. So it's every part of this was undyed, unpainted, just white. And I've taught this thousands of times now, or the techniques behind this. So there's different paints that you can use to get different effects. And I just wanted to very briefly talk about those, if I may, because when you're using paint, you've got a lot of freedom on how you can create different fabrics. So you start with a piece of fabric, and you can embellish it to turn it into something quite dramatic. Oh, my dragonflies are upside down, so I'll go like that. Some other examples of painted surfaces. I'll come back to that one. This is one I did really early, really basic, but so elegant. I can't quite bring myself to cut into this, but one day I will. So the beauty of paint is it's not fussy like a dye. It will go on every fabric. So you can paint sheers, man-mades, denims, upholstery fabrics, right through to everything. Obviously, as a quilter, I focus a lot on cotton, and I'll just show you a couple more examples of some fabrics where they've started as white homespun, but they've turned out to be quite dramatic fabrics that we can add to different projects. Now, fabric paints come in a couple of different consistencies. With the more liquid paints, you can paint and create backgrounds. So this is a black and white fabric that I did as just with some red and orange and yellow paint over the top of it. So you can take your existing stash and update it. You can change things up. You can get clothing from the op shops, or something that's been in the cupboard for a while that you haven't used, and with just a little bit of paint, you can really rejuvenate it. A couple more examples, and then I'll stop talking. This is what I would consider stage 2. So it was a white homespun that's been coloured with the more liquid paints, and then some of the more solid ones over the top to give it some dimension and some texture. I consider this really to be a work in progress, but one day it's more of an example. Paint is wonderful in that you can stencil with it, you can screen print it, you can paint directly onto the surface, and it sits where you put it, which comes down to one of those characteristics. So when I'm running classes, I talk about paints having sort of 3 major things to think about. Viscosity, so how liquid is it? Opacity, can you see through it, or can you not? And one that's less important to me is colour fastness. And colour fastness is not unimportant because it's not important, because obviously it is. It's not important to me for paints because you can create colour fastness. So most paint companies now have, all the acrylic paint companies now have a textile medium that you can add to pretty much any paint to make it permanent on your fabric. So a liquid paint will give you a lot of movement, so you can work on wet fabric and you can colour your backgrounds like I showed you with this one.
Yes.
A more solid, fuller bodied paint will sit where you put it, so you can screen print, stencil, you've got the flickers, screen print, stencil, draw, whatever. The more transparent paints you can sun print with. A lot of people sell paints specific to sun printing, and that's really not necessary, because any of the liquid paints will sun print. It's a chemical reaction that creates that. So most of my projects that are class samples or things that I do, as I said, start with the white homespun and become much more dramatic fabrics. This is one I recently did. Some of you may have seen this one on the Australian Sewing Community Facebook group, where I started, and the videos for this are still there, and they're also on the Australian Sewing Community YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. And I can step you through how to make this quilt from scratch. There's a few other techniques in this, but the painting in the background was really popular. And I'll show you one more quilt and then we can chat. So this one I did, again, everything started as white homespun, and there's some red velvet in that one. And I did this one when I went and was interviewed by Ricky Timms in the US a few years ago. I was teaching at Houston, and he went through the list and saw the people he hadn't seen before and asked me to come and have a chat. So that was nice. But yeah, I made this very quickly because I actually got the call or the email from Ricky's people to say, can you come and talk to Ricky, when I was in Birmingham. So I basically had about a 5-week turnaround to make a new quilt. So that was the result of that. And painting really allowed me to do that. So I can show you a couple of techniques if you'd like. Narelle, I haven't got a lot of stuff here.
There I am.
Lost you. Do you have any questions?
No, we've got a few. We've got Kerry. I've just asked everyone to comment and let us know where they're from. So we've got Sharon from in country New South Wales, and we've got Kerry saying hi from Courage
Hi,
On.
Kerry.
Yep. You know Kerry, one of yours? Yeah.
No.
And we've got
maybe.
Peter. Yeah, Peter's one of mine. She said it's a really interesting subject. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm not going to show people how to start with the backgrounds because it's a bit messy.
Yeah.
And I put on one of my paint-free tops just for you, Narelle. I don't have many.
Yep.
I don't have many things that don't have paint on it.
Peter's from Illawarra in New South Wales. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Hi, Peter. But this is some of the effects that you can get. This is just paint. And see how there's darker areas?
Yes.
That's because the paint has dried faster. So to do something like this, I've started with a wet piece of fabric and I've scrunched it up and I've put it in a bowl, either with the bowl with the paint already in there or I've drizzled paint over the top. And to do that, I'd use one of the more liquid paints, one of the ones when you shake it, you can hear that it rattles. I don't know if we can, don't know if that'll come through. No. But if you're at the shops and you shake the paint and you can hear it moving around, it's a more liquid paint and it's likely to be more transparent. So you can create your backgrounds and your sun printing and everything through that. And then if I put this to dry on something scrunched or something textural, bubble wrap or, paper towel or something that's all scrunched up, anything that's below that will come through into the paint and you'll get that texture. And then in this case, these areas here, they've obviously sat at the top of the bowl with the scrunching and they've dried fastest. So you get that intensity of colour that you can get. And that makes great texture for backgrounds. So once you start with your semi-transparent paints, your more liquid paints, and colour your background, you get some blending, you get some movement, you get some shifting of the colour, and then you can add other layers over the top. And I'll go back to this one, which I showed you. This one is a good example of blending. So you can see how it's got the reds and the oranges and the yellows. Basically, what I would have done with my more transparent paints here is, again, worked with a wet fabric and then just drizzled in a couple of spots the different colours and let them all bleed in and run together, because the water in the wet fabric will act as osmosis is your best friend. So not drippy, you want to wet but wrung out so there's not a lot of water there. And then when you put the paint on, because it's water-based, it will also drag all the colour across and you get the blending. So they're the main techniques that you can use with your more liquid paints. Now, I just wanted to quickly do some layering. I might use this one because I've got it to hand and I've got some colours that will go with it. So I'll often start with something interesting like this, and then I'll use my fuller bodied paints through a stencil or a screen print, sponge, stamp, any of those things. And because they're fuller bodied, they sit where you put them, as opposed to the more liquid ones that will run and blend. So if I take, sometimes I was just thinking I might have a challenge opening the jar, so let's have it opened.
Yeah, it's opened.
When I do classes, often by the time we get to this stage, my principal role is taker away of rubbish and opener of jars. So I'm just going to take this piece here, and I'm just going to take a couple of stencils, and I've got 3 different shaped stencils that I've got that I'm going to have a play with, and they've all got a slightly circular feel to them. I like to build in contrast with shape as well as colour. So if I just put some paint on my brush, and you can't see this, unfortunately, I'll just quickly do this and show you. I'm just running. I'll try and bring it up in a second, put it on something that I can bring it up, but I'll just show you in a small area. If I just run my stencil over my fabric, see how that's adding some texture and some detail already to the background? So I've used colours that are quite monochromatic there, and it's quite a subtle finish. But as I build up the layers, just trying to think what what I can do to make it more visible. I will lift up my applique mat to here. How about we do this? So this may not be perfect, so we'll see how we go. And when I'm using my stencil, I've just got a little bit of paint on my wet brush, and then I'm just literally pushing the paint through the gaps in the stencil.
Right.
And from there we can build up layers of colour.
Oh, wrong one. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're right.
I need an easel, don't I?
Yeah.
So if I now take another colour and a different stencil, I'll just put the paint lid back on this one before I knock it for 6 and get paint everywhere.
Yeah, we've got another one from Wollongbar. Is it Judy from Wollongbar?
Hi, Judy. So I'm just working through with some of the fuller bodied paints. Now I'm going to go through now, and again I'm going to do it down here so you won't see me actually working, but just bear with me while I do this, and I'll show you. So this time I'm using the rust. I used pewter originally, but the rust will give it a warmer texture.
Yeah.
Now you might see I never use a whole stencil. I use bits of the stencil, and the reason for that is I want it to be very organic. So if I use a whole stencil like that, it's going to be very square, and I don't want my pieces to look square. I want them to look really natural and organic. So there's the next layer with the rust added to it, and you can start to see there's some contrast in both size and shape.
Yeah, and it also looks like little leopard printies or little different dimensions of the circles there. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're doing, Narelle, is adding, when you add paint to a piece of fabric or a piece of paper or anything.
Yes.
You're adding layers, and as you build your layers, you're creating dimension, and that dimension creates that sense of depth, and there's movement. So if I've got different shapes and I've got them moving around, then I end up with a different finish. And if I can go back to this, let me find a piece to show you what I'm talking about. Sorry, bear with me.
That's all right. We always have the samples, don't we? Yeah. Let me put you back on.
Let's have a look at this one. So can you see how it sort of looks almost dimensional? It looks like in some ways the dragonflies are flying out of the mess. And this is because as we've built up the layers, it starts to look, I'm going to come around closer to this. Bear with me a sec. I'm going to come around. So see if the light's not very good there. So is that better? You can see the different layers. And because I've got circles and I've got some really tightly meshed up snake skin and I've got the very open, quite linear dragonflies, you get a lot of contrast built into the piece. So when I cut this up and put it into a patchwork, for example, or turn it into a bag or whatever I end up doing with it, all that texture, movement, depth and interest comes with the fabric. So you can really create a lot of really interesting bits. I'm just going to add one more colour to this bit.
Add one more colour and then we'll have a chat. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to put some gold on there because I want to make it pop a little bit.
So you've put pewter on. What was the second colour?
The second colour was rust.
Rust. And now gold.
I'm running out of gold, so
we'll put a little bit on.
Took a little bit to get out of the jar. And I'm going to use my third stencil. And I'm just going to put little pops of the gold, and I'm going to layer them up as well over the stuff that I've already done, because that's how the real movement and activity starts. So just bear with me one more second.
No, you're right.
All right. So see how that's transformed? So if we have a look at the bottom half, you've got no paint on it. compared to the top half where you've got the paint. And you can see how quickly and easily it is to just create something that's got a lot of visual interest. And one of the other things that's really good about paint is you can actually tailor it to the project. So if you wanted to make something feel a little bit more like, I don't know, the ocean, you could use a whole pile of teals and blues and aquamarines and things, and some shell type shapes, and and some silver, and just bring that in and make it more themed, so your fabric can be made more perfect to the theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so, there you go.
Yeah, very quick.
It is a quick one, and that's what today's all about. I'm just doing little half-hour ones with lots of different guests and giving us all exposure to lots of different people, and just sharing our knowledge and sharing things around while I know you guys have, I think Melbourne, you're not in Melbourne, you're in Canberra, but, you know, Melbourne has still got restrictions. They're not in lockdown, but they've got pretty well one. Yeah, one of here we go. Here's a comment from one of my guys in Melbourne, and she sort of said, will it be on your website? I have awful Wi-Fi down here. Apparently with all those storms and everything, they've knocked them all out. Julie, these will be available on my YouTube, and I'm sure Cecile will get them onto her YouTube. It's on our Facebook pages. Everything will be there. They're free to watch and everything, and just to look at. Yes, definitely. So
we lost power with a hailstorm the other night as well. I was supposed to be on a Zoom meeting, and everything went out.
Yeah, I haven't lost power. It's just really cold here. It's just really, really cold. We've got the wind coming up through here, Woodburn. So Julie's just come back. She's just gone fantastic. We can see them. They will be rewatched. I did get a few comments on that from yesterday as well.
Cool.
Here we go. Judy's got a question. What paints do you use?
Okay. I use, one of the reasons, Judy, I start with saying about the characteristics of the paint, the liquid versus full-bodied, opaque versus transparent, is because I sell paints. I sell the paints I use, and I will answer your question, but I'm doing this the long way.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to think there's only one paint that does the job. So when you look at the characteristics of the paint, you understand that they'll all do the job, and you can support your local shops with what they've got. Having said that, the paints I use are all the Jacquard range. So, and I use these because they are just to die for. They don't significantly change the hand of the fabric. You know, if I go back to this one, you can see that it's got quite a lot of drape. It scrunches. I could turn it into something really easily, and it won't affect it. So in the Jacquard range, the ones that I use, the more liquid ones are the Dynaflow. So I use them for my backgrounds, my washes, sun printing, all of those things. And then they have 3 different paints that have a semi-opaque. So Neopaque and the Lumiere are exactly the same paint chemistry. So they're the same weight and body, and they're the full-bodied ones. Lumiere have a metallic or an opalescent tinge, whereas the Neopaque are flat. So exactly the same maths and science goes into a tube. One's a little bit shiny and one's a bit matte. So it just depends on what you want. Acrylic paints are all water-soluble. They all blend. We will have a special Byndees special on my website, so if you want to buy
what we can talk about. Yes.
But I do recommend people support their local shops where they can as well.
Oh, of course. You've got all your locals and everything as well.
Falling over.
Want to get what was in your water? Coffee. Okay, so that was a great lead-in, Cecile, because what's going to happen throughout this whole next 2 days is all my guests and myself will be giving you specials throughout the days, okay? Now, Cecile, I can share your website. This is what Cecile's website looks like, okay? So it is textiletransitions.com.au. I've got that going across the bottom of the screen here. You've got all, I can go to scroll it somehow. Where is it? Click on that. There it is. So you can see, you can just scroll through it, your paints and all that down through the side here. You've got lots and lots of things on your website for everyone to look at. All right. So that's great. Now, what we are going to do, let me take that away. And we have got now, did you put the voucher code in? Or you've got a voucher code.
I haven't yet, so everyone needs to give me 5 minutes after this video. But it was the last thing I had to do before I was running late for you.
That's right. So basically what it's going to be is for my website throughout the next 2 days, and with Cecile's, I know a couple of them can't put vouchers, but they've got specials, and we'll explain that as each one comes on. All right. But with this, when you put the voucher code Byndees, all capital letters in there, you will get the discounts. Okay. So Cecile, what's your discounts going to be on?
Okay, so I've decided that it's a long weekend in New South Wales as well, so we might as well have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take 20% off everything store-wide.
Oh, wow.
Except for there's one category that is sew steady tables and westerly rulers and things, and I already do them at pretty much close to what they cost me. So I can't take anything more off those because I'm trying to just get them as accessible as possible. But so I don't want to compete with my darling friend Narelle, but I've got some very well priced fabric, $15, $16 a metre for a whole pile of great fabric. We've got cross stitch and embroidery, we've got diamond dots, we've got a whole pile of things for everybody. And it'll be 20% off until midnight Monday, whatever the date is. So throughout the weekend.
We'll do a long weekend. And we're only on for the couple of days, that sort of thing. But the long weekend will make them, Cecile's making hers go through till Monday. And you'll post that on your Facebook and all that sort of thing as well. We'll have it on there. What I'm doing, and I'm going to do a special for every video I do, every hour I'm on. So I'm sitting in this chair every hour. I don't know how the background's going to change every hour, but you might get it changed. But for this one with Cecile, I'm actually going to have on my website that you can get is the Totally Fun Bag kits. So your little Totally Fun Bag kits, these are, hold up to the right camera, Narelle. So this is a Totally Fun Bag. The kits come with the pattern and everything. So all the kits, let me grab this one. Okay, you know my kits, they all come in brown paper bags. I'm very environmental with all those. They're $26 for the kit. If you want the foam that goes in it, that's only an extra $9. 20% off the Totally Fun kits. And I will have mine go through. I'll change. I had it till Saturday night, but I'll change it to Monday because that's a great idea. Let's give them a good long weekend. So I'll change it. So these will be 20% off. As the day goes along, it will grow in products, okay? Because I thought I'd just add one every hour of a different product as I get a next guest on. And so for Cecile, we're having the Totally Fun. They will be there till Monday midnight as well for 20% off, but everything else will be as usual. And then as I add throughout the next 2 days some more products, they'll just add to the special. And again, put the voucher code Byndees in to get them. So so that's what we're going to do, and it's going to be a fun couple of days. Sitting here, I'm going to move my camera so it's above my laptop because I've got to use the laptop with all the comments, and I keep looking down. Sorry, guys. But there. So, Cecile, thank you so much. We are only doing little half-hour ones. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you're doing?
No. Head over, if you're not part of the Australian Sewing Community Facebook group, head over. Please answer a question because I basically approve them all, and we need to know you're not we need to know that you're an actual human quilter, not a bot. But other than that, we've got a lot going on in there. Other than that, Narelle, it's just been fabulous to catch up.
Oh, it has. Look, and Cecile said, thanks, Cecile, for showing us. Looks like a lot of fun. Thanks, Byndees. So it's been fun. This is going to be a fun couple of days with everybody. We're all going to share. And as I always say, I've even got the banner. Let me just put this one up. I always say it. Here it is. We've got to subscribe, talk, and share. Okay, so subscribe to everyone's Facebook page. We've got Cecile's, which you would have seen. We've got Cecile's Facebook page, YouTube, that sort of thing. Stalk us on those. Okay, subscribe on the YouTube channel and share. Share all the posts, share everything, so we can help share all the knowledge. All right, that it's all about sharing and that sort of thing and helping each other out. So yeah. So thank you, Cecile. Thank you so much. We've got another
Great fun.
comment. Oh, we've got a few of them coming through now. So Judy says, thanks, Cecile. Marg is one of mine. She's Marg is thanks, Cecile. So it was lovely to see you. I really appreciate you guys all coming on and doing this with me for the next few days. And yeah, stay warm, everybody, because it is a little bit chilly around.
I'm going to go put my jumper back on.
Yeah, I've got mine on. Yeah. All right, Cecile, thank you so much, sweetie. I really appreciate
Catch up
it.
soon. Miss you.
And we'll catch up. Yeah, miss you too. Yeah, we don't get to see each other enough, do we? All right, guys. So thank you, guys. Now, the next one in the next hour, let me just see. We've got Anne from Crystals and More. So Anne will be up at 12. I've got to get her at 12. So I'll get her all set up. Anne will take a little bit longer to set up than Cecile. Just saying, she's not the techno one. I love my friend Anne.
This is true.
Yeah, we'll get that going. So thanks so much, Cecile. Glad your family and Glenn and everyone are okay. And we'll catch up and we'll try and get to meet up personally soon. But this is just as good, I think. Yeah, definitely. All right. See you later, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy.
Happy sewing. See yous.